By the end of this tutorial, you'll be able to create this paint product display stand from scratch in Blender. Welcome to Blender 3D. Whether you're brand new or just brushing up, this beginner-friendly tutorial will guide you step by step, from navigating the interface to creating your first 3D model. And yes, by the end, you'll be able to make the display stand you just saw. Now, how to get Blender? Head over to the Blender website. On the home page, click on the Download Blender button. For this video, I will be using the Windows version of Blender. There are also versions for Mac OS and Linux. Link will be provided in the description of this video. Next, install it. When you open Blender, this is what you will see. You have options to create new projects, etc. You can click on the splash screen or outside it to close it. What we see now is the Blender interface. Before we start creating stuff, let's do a few setups. Head over to Edit, Preference. Then click on System. Click on Optics. In my case, I have an NVIDIA graphics card. If you have a dedicated graphic card, select it. In my case, it's NVIDIA. Enabling this ensures you have faster render time. I recommend you also enable your CPU as well. Next, click on the button down here and click on Save. Let's start with the interface. We'll break this down so you are not overwhelmed. This entire space here is called the 3D viewport. This is basically your workspace where most of the work happens. From modeling, animation, sculpting, texturing, etc. To move around the screen, hold the middle mouse button and hover around. For panning, hold the Shift key in addition to the middle mouse to pan around the viewport. If you want to zoom in, scroll the middle mouse button to zoom in and out. In the viewport, we can see two colored lines, red is for the x-axis and green is for the y-axis. At the top right corner, we have what we call the gizmo. You can click and drag the circle to orbit around the screen. The X is for the x-axis, Y for the y-axis and Z for the z-axis. Clicking on this sets the view in the respective axis. When you hover over each, it displays the shortcut key for each. When you press on number 1 on the numpad, it sets it to front view. Press on 3 and that takes you to the side view. You can also use the magnifying glass to zoom in and out, and the hand icon for panning by clicking and dragging. Next, let's look at the surrounding panels. On the left we have the toolbar panel. You can show or hide this by pressing T on the keyboard. The first, we have the select tool. When we hover over it, we can find its shortcut key. Cursor, move, rotate, scale, transform, and so on. You can adjust the size of this panel like this in order to see their names. At the top part, we have this drop-down menu here. This shows us the various view modes we have. We are currently in the object view mode. Each mode has its own set of settings and features it comes with. When I click on Edit Mode, you can see on the left panel that we have additional set of tools we can work with. We have Extrude, to extrude parts of objects. Inset, to insert faces. Bevel, Loop Cut to add loop, etc. Once we start creating practical stuff, you will get familiar and more understanding of how these tools work. In this area, we can edit the vertex, edges and face of the object we are working with. There are other modes, but in this tutorial, we will be focusing on just these two modes. Object and Edit mode. The shortcut key for toggling between these two modes is by pressing Tab. On the top right of the screen, we have what we call the outliner. This is like your files manager or scene manager. This shows every object in your scene or viewport. Collection can be seen as a group or folder, to organize stuff. You will notice we have 3 items in our collection. We have the camera, cube and light. While I click on that, you can see those items are highlighted in the viewport. Next to the items are 2 icons. An eye and a camera icon. The eye icon is used to hide and unhide objects in the viewport. The camera icon is used to hide and unhide objects when rendering. You can also rename these objects by double-clicking on them. When the cube is selected, its properties are displayed here. Object properties. You can adjust the scale, etc. Same applies to all objects. Down below, we have the materials panel to apply different materials. To add modifiers, we can do that here, at the modifier panel. When you hover over each, it tells you what it's for. At the bottom we have the timeline area, to play through animations, etc. Next to the gizmo, we have this small arrow. When we click on it, it opens a sidebar. In here you can adjust the object's location, rotation, scale and dimensions. We have other things there like, tool and view. If you have add-ons installed, they also appear along this side. Use the N key on your keyboard to toggle on and off this bar. We've spoke about quite a lot so far. Once we start using them practically, everything starts coming together. So no need to force yourself to memorize everything now. What we have done so far is just to show you what is where and where to find what. Now let's start manipulating and adding objects. First, make sure you are in object mode. We already have a cube, so let's add another cube. Click on Add Cube. Now move the mouse cursor to the position you want the cube, and click and drag. Release to confirm. If you look at the top right corner, you will see we have the cube we just created in the collection. Let's add another object. This time click and hold. This shows other objects we can add. Let's add a same process. Hold Shift while dragging to get even sides. In Blender there are multiple ways of doing one thing. Alternatively, we can import objects using the shortcut key by holding Shift plus A key. This displays the Add menu. When you hover over Mesh, you can see we have other objects we can add to Outscene. Aside that, there are a lot of stuff we can add directly from the Add menu. Let's add a U.V sphere. To spawn an object at a particular position, hover over to the position you want and hold Shift and right-click. Now let's add the U.V sphere. Now let's move these objects around. So you select the object you want to move. Then click on the Move tool. Click on any of the axis points and drag. As you can see, the values on the Object Data Properties tab also changes because of the movements. Alternatively, we can move object around from there as well. Another way to move objects around is to select the object and press letter G on the keyboard. G key for grab. Now move your cursor to move the objects around. If you want to move on a particular axis, press the axis letter, after pressing the G key. Now let's rotate this object. Click on Rotate. Now click on any of the line to rotate to the angle of your choice. Another way of doing this is to select the object, and press the R key, then move your mouse to rotate at an angle of your choice. R for rotation. If you want to rotate on a particular axis, after pressing R key, press the axis key next to lock it to it. Let's scale up our object. Select Scale. Then click and drag to scale. To scale on a particular axis, click on the axis point and drag. The hotkey for this is the S key. Press S on the keyboard and drag to scale on all axes. To scale on a particular axis, in this case, press S and the axis letter to scale. Now let's modify our shape. Select the object you want to modify and enter the edit mode. Let's move around our vertex. Select a vertex, press the G key and drag your mouse around to move the points around. Remember, G is the hotkey for grabbing and moving things around. You can use the Move tool on the left panel as well. Let's move around the edge and faces. Let's extrude our face. Make sure face is selected. Click on a face, hold and drag. The hotkey for extrusion is E. Let's insert a face. Select a face. Click and drag. Hotkey for this is I. Let's bevel our edge. Select edge at the top. Let's sect our edge. You can select multiple edges by holding Shift. Now click and drag. Use the middle mouse scroll wheel to give it more curve. Let's add some loop cuts. Hover over the area you want to perform that action and click. Click and drag if you want to move it around, and release mouse to confirm selection. You can experiment with the rest of the tools. The knife tool is also used to cut out and create custom shapes on an object. Now let's create our product display stand. Switch to object mode. Left-click, hold and drag to select everything and press X to delete. Set our 3D cursor to the center. Hold Shift and right-click. Let's start by creating the shelves. Add a cube. Shift-A, Mesh, Cube. Press 1 on the keyboard to switch to front view. Scale up to a desired size. I am switching between view using the numpad 1, 3, and 7 to get a better view of what I am doing. Let's apply all the transformation we have done. Select the object, press Ctrl A, and click on All Transform. Let's switch to the edit mode and inset the face. The hotkey is I. Extrude downwards. The edges and corners of our shelf look sharp. Let's bevel the edges. Switch back to object mode. Add a bevel modifier to the selected object. Play with the values to get the level of roundness you want. Right-click and select Shade Auto Smooth to smooth out the shelf. Our shelf is ready now. Let's work on the sides next. Add a cube. Scale up to a desired size. Let's position it. Hold Ctrl+3 on the numpad to view from the side, press 3 alone to view from the opposite side. Now scale to fit. Let's create the slop at the top. Switch to Edit mode. Hold Z and select Wireframe. This takes you to the wireframe mode. Select Vertex. And select these vertex and move them on the Z-axis. Go back to Object mode. Hold Z and select Solid to switch to Solid View. Add a bevel modifier to it to give it rounded edges. Right-click. Shade Auto Smooth. Let's duplicate it and move it to the opposite end. We can do so by holding Shift+D. Or click on Object and select Duplicate Objects. Let's save out our project before proceeding. Click on File, select Save As. And save to a preferred location. In our reference, the bottom shelf has more space than those at the top. Let's do that. Duplicate like before. For the other shelves, let's add an array modifier to it. This helps us create multiple copies of an object in a pattern. Set the offset value for the Z-axis. Adjust the value to the height you prefer, then increase the number of counts. Let's organize our work by putting them in collection. Select all the shelves and press M, and select New Collection. Do same with the sides. Let's create the poles. Add in a cylinder. Create the base of the poles as well and duplicate them. Let's parent the base to the pole. We do that by selecting the base, hold Shift and select the object we want to parent it to. In our case the pole. Next press Ctrl P, and select Object Keep Transform, to parent it. Now wherever we move the pole the base moves with it. Don't forget to keep saving your project along the way. Hotkey is Ctrl+S key, to save. Groups the legs. Let's create the top bit. What I just did here was to connect the back poles to the top board. Switch to wireframe, then edit mode. Selected those vertexes and extended them. Also, I added more shelves. Just adjusting the look basically. We are done with the modeling bit now. Next we add the materials. In order to see our materials we are adding, let's move to the material preview section. Select the object you want to add materials to, and head over to the material properties section, and click on New to add new material. You can name the material. Let's call ours base material. Over here you can adjust things like the surface, base color, how metallic it looks, the roughness etc. Feel free to look through and you can experiment with them. In this videos we are focusing on giving our model a base material. Let's assign a color. Reduce the roughness a bit, to give it a slight glossy feel. Since our model is going to have the same base color, let's apply the same color to the other parts. First, select the object that you want to copy the material onto. Hold Shift and select the objects that has the material you prefer. And hold Ctrl+L, and select Link Materials. Let's give the poles a metallic feel. Select the pole and give it a new material. Same process as before. This time we increase the metallic value just to give it a metallic feel. Let's give materials to the base of the poles as well. Now let's add textures to our models. Let's start with the side. Let's select the object we want to apply the texture, and head over to Edit Mode. Select the face we want to apply the texture on. Head over here and click the plus icon to add a new material slot. Click on New, and give a name to the material, and click Assign to assign a material to the selected spot alone. Let's split the view so we can use the shader editor to import our texture. In here we have the node set up for our material. Let's add an image texture node in order to import our texture. Hold Shift+A key and search for image texture. Connect color to base color. Let's import our texture. Once you import it, it looks distorted, so let's fix this. Let's do this in the U.V editor. Select the face. Press U on the keyboard and select Project from View. Now select the face in the U.V editor, then scale to fit. Let's use the same steps for the other side and the top board as well. Let's add loop cuts at the base so our texture extends to the bottom. It appears like this due to the velo we added. The hotkey to add loop cut is Ctrl plus R key. Let's insert the face. And set origin to the geometry so we can scale from the center. Lastly, for the textures, let's add our logo. Hit Shift plus A key. Head to Image and select Mesh Plane. Let's rotate it to position. Hit R for that, X to rotate on the X-axis, and I entered 90, to rotate it to a 90-degree angle. You can isolate the logo alone to focus only on that only. Hit the / key for that. Hit again to exit. Now we want the logo attached to the shelves. Let's subdivide our logo mesh. Hit the / key for that. Hit again to exit. Add a shrink wrap modifier. Select the target object, and adjust the offset value. Add an array to duplicate the copies. Then duplicate to the other shelves. After duplicating, disable the target object. Our product display stand is ready now. Let's add a backdrop. Add a plane. Go to Edit mode and extrude the edge on the Z-axis. Let's bevel the edge. Right-click on the plane and shade smooth. Now let's switch to the render view to prepare our setup for rendering. Our scene appears dark. Let's introduce a light source. Shift plus A key. Light, area light. Let's scale it up. Before we proceed, let's switch to cycles for more realistic result. Head over to the Render Properties panel. Change from EV to Cycles, and make device, GPU Compute. This gives us faster render time. Let's set our render maximum samples to 250. And set denoiser to optics. Lastly, let's set color management to medium-high contrast. Now let's turn up the power of our light source. Select the light source, and click on the bulb icon here. Let's turn up the power to, let's say, 1000. Adjust setting to what suits you. I will be duplicating my light source. You can change the color of the light as well. Let's fix this. Let's turn the world strength down to 0, so our light will be the only light source in the scene. Let's give our floor a material to give it a bit of reflection. In order to render out an image of our display stand, we will need a camera. Let's add one. An easy way to position your camera at a desired position, position the view to the angle you want to capture. Then press Ctrl plus Alt plus 0 to position the camera there. You can move the camera by adjusting the values in the transform option in the Object Properties panel here. You can also hold down the middle mouse button to step out of the view. Alternatively, we can grab and move the camera around using the Move tool or G. You can click on the camera icon here to view through the camera or press 0 on your keyboard. Another way to navigate with the camera is by locking the camera to view. To do that, head to the sidebar, or press the N key. Go to View and check Camera to View. This locks your camera to your movement. So as you can see, as I am moving, the camera moves along. To exit it, uncheck Camera to View. You can hide the light indicators by disabling the overlay icon here. Currently our camera is set to a 1920 by 1080 dimension. You can change the dimensions in the Output Property panel. Note: only what's within this frame will be rendered. We can also set frame rate, the start and end of our frame, and also the output location. This is where the rendered files will be saved. Camera setting can also be adjusted to your preference in the Data Properties panel. For this tutorial, we are leaving most of them as they are. Now let's render our shot. Click on Render, and select Render Image. Once rendering is complete, click on Image and save it to your desired location. There you have it. You just rendered your first Blender project. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe.